It was supposed to be a peaceful getaway for Julia and her friends. They had rented a secluded cabin in the mountains, far from the noise of city life. The air was crisp, the forest was dense, and Cabin 17 stood isolated in eerie silence. From the moment they arrived, Julia felt something was wrong. She couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, though no one else seemed to notice. As night fell, an unsettling quiet enveloped the cabin, broken only by the occasional creak of wood. "Did you hear that?" Julia whispered, her eyes darting around the room. Her friends laughed, brushing it off as her imagination. But Julia's unease only grew stronger, a chill settling in her bones. That night, as she lay in bed, she heard it, a soft tapping against the window. Heart pounding, she sat up, straining to see outside. The forest was dark, the shadows thick, but the tapping continued, persistent and unnerving. She mustered the courage to look, pulling back the curtain ever so slightly. Her breath caught as she saw a face, pale and expressionless, staring back at her. Frozen in terror, she backed away, unable to scream, her body paralyzed with fear. The face disappeared, leaving only the echo of her racing heartbeat. The next morning, she told her friends, but they shrugged it off as a dream. Julia, however, couldn't shake the image, the face burned into her memory. Determined to prove it wasn't her imagination, she set up a camera by the window that night. The evening passed slowly, every sound amplified, every shadow a threat. When morning came, she checked the footage with trembling hands. What she saw made her blood run cold. A figure stood outside the window, watching her, unmoving for hours. It wasn't just a trick of the light, it was real, and it had been watching her all night. The group decided to leave, spooked by her discovery, but the cabin had one last horror in store. As they packed, Julia found a note on her bed, written in scratchy handwriting, "See you again." Terrified, they left the cabin, never looking back, but Julia knew she would never forget Cabin 17. Years ago, Greywood Manor was a grand estate, known for its elegant ballrooms and lush gardens. But after a tragic fire claimed the life of its owner, Lady Eleanor Greywood, the mansion was left abandoned. Rumors circulated that her spirit still lingered, bound to the hall she once called home. Carla and her friends, amateur ghost hunters, were intrigued by the manor's haunted history. They decided to spend the night, armed with cameras and recording devices, eager for proof of the paranormal. As they entered, a heavy silence greeted them, the air thick with an unexplainable dread. The manor was cold, colder than it should have been, and the darkness seemed to press in on them. They made their way through the grand hall, their footsteps echoing through the emptiness. "Lady Eleanor, are you here?" Carla called, her voice trembling slightly. At first, there was only silence. But then, a soft, sorrowful melody filled the air, as if someone were playing an old piano. "Do you hear that?" one of her friends whispered, eyes wide with fear. They followed the sound, hearts pounding, until they reached a small, dimly lit parlor. In the corner stood an old, dusty piano, keys worn from years of neglect. No one was there, yet the melody continued, each note hauntingly beautiful and sad. Suddenly, the music stopped, and the air grew thick with tension. Carla felt a cold hand on her shoulder, the touch icy and lingering. She spun around, but there was no one there, only the chilling realization that they were not alone. Panicked, they decided to leave, but the manor had other plans. The doors refused to open, as if an invisible force was holding them shut. Trapped, they huddled together, fear gripping their hearts as whispers filled the air. "Why did you come here?" a voice echoed, soft yet menacing. It was a woman's voice, filled with pain and anger, sending shivers down their spines. In the darkness, they saw her, Lady Eleanor, her face twisted in sorrow, her eyes hollow. "Leave this place," she commanded, her voice growing louder, reverberating through the room. With a final push, they broke free, escaping into the night, their breaths ragged and their minds scarred. They had come seeking proof of ghosts, and they had found it, but at a terrible price. Greywood Manor was forever etched in their memories, a reminder that some spirits never rest. Eli had always been skeptical of the supernatural, laughing off ghost stories as mere fiction. But that changed the night he encountered the thing in the mirror. It began innocently enough, with strange noises echoing through his empty house. Doors creaked open and closed on their own, and cold drafts swept through the halls without explanation. Eli brushed it off, attributing it to the age of the house. But one night, as he was brushing his teeth, he noticed something strange in the bathroom mirror. His reflection didn't look quite right, its eyes seemed darker, its expression colder. He leaned closer, studying the face staring back at him. Suddenly, his reflection grinned, a twisted, malicious smile that didn't match his own expression. He stumbled back, heart racing, as the reflection continued to move on its own. It raised a hand, waving slowly, taunting him with that sinister grin. Eli's mind raced with fear, his rationality slipping as he realized he was seeing something unnatural. In a moment of terror, he covered the mirror, hoping it would stop whatever horror lurked within. But the nightmares began soon after, each one more vivid and terrifying than the last. Every night, he dreamed of his reflection clawing its way out, reaching for him with inhuman eyes. The fear consumed him, leaving him sleepless and paranoid, every mirror a potential doorway. Desperate for answers, he sought out a paranormal expert, hoping for a solution. The expert listened intently, then warned him to avoid mirrors altogether. "Your reflection has become something else," she explained, her voice grave. "It's trying to escape, to take your place." Terrified, Eli removed every mirror from his home, determined to sever the connection. But one night, as he passed a store window, he saw it, the thing staring back at him, grinning hungrily. He realized then that it was too late, the entity had followed him, attached to his very soul. No matter where he went, every reflective surface showed that same twisted face, mocking him. Eli's life spiraled into chaos, his sanity fraying as he tried to escape his own reflection. In the end, he was left with one horrifying truth: some mirrors show more than our faces, they show what lies within. These true horror stories remind us that some things are better left unseen, some places are better left unexplored, and some questions are better left unanswered. Each story carries a chilling moral: the past, the unknown, and even our own reflections can hold secrets that should never be disturbed. For those who dare to look closer, remember, you may not like what you find staring back.